I'm supposed to say a few words about Benny Powell, which is very difficult to do because I call Benny Ultra Man. And there was a reason for that. When we toured Europe, we had the traditional Ganawa people of Morocco. These are the black spiritual musicians, have great power in music. And we toured with our group, which was T.K. Blue, and Benny Powell on trombone, Alex Blake, Neil Clark. And we also had Johnny Copeland's blues band. So we toured, and it was called The Spirit of Africa. And with that tour, we were showing the similarities in our music and the differences in our music because the foundation has always been our ancestral home, the spiritual place on our planet, the continent of Africa. So Benny, he was just wonderful. We had to stop in hospitals 3 times a week so he could take dialysis, you know. And he spent 5 hours on those machines, and then he would come for the gig. His legs would be wobbling. I said, Benny, sit down, man, we'll make the gig. Benny got up on the stage. Once he picked up that trombone, that spirit came out. He played some of the most beautiful, beautiful music. Before Benny Powell, I always worked with trumpet. I had never worked with trombone before. And I met Benny one day on Broadway, and Benny said, Randy Weston, I've been in Hollywood too long, so I'm tired of Marv Griffin and all that stuff. He said, I want to play the real music. You need a trombone player, give me a gig. That was over 25 years ago. And Benny, we loved our ancestors, we loved our elders and our children. And Benny Powell was always talking about his grandchildren. And when we went to Africa together, we took part in a tremendous concert in Fez in Morocco. And it was a festival of spiritual and sacred music from all over the world. And for example, they had a chorus of about 125 singers from Sarajevo at that time to open up the festival. And they had music from all over the world, but all sacred music and spiritual music. And we performed with the Ganawa people in Morocco, and I was so thrilled and so proud because my love for Africa is very deep. Anybody knows Randy Weston, they know I'm in love with Africa. And there's a very good reason for that, because my father always told me when I was a boy, he said, son, you have to study the history of Africa when Africa was great. He says, you're only going to get it after colonialization and after slavery. He said, you've got to study the ancient empires. So as a boy, I used to go to the library and read books about ancient Egypt, ancient Ethiopia, all the great civilizations, you know, never dreaming one day I would go to the continent, spend 7 years in Morocco, travel in 22 countries. And wherever I went, just like I did in New York, I tried to find the oldest musicians I could find. I tried to find the oldest people I could find to learn the secrets of music. Because music is our sacred art. Music is our divine art. Music comes directly from the universe. And our ancient ancestors, they discovered music to thank the Creator for the families, the food that we have, the water that we drink, music for a harvest. And in traditional African society, there's music for every single activity. There's music. Because music is our first language. Music is before French, Arabic, Spanish, Portuguese. Music is the first language. And we're all here because of one reason, because of music. And we're all here because of a great master, Mr. Benny Powell. And when Benny Powell played that trombone, you got a message. And it goes back to New Orleans traditions, goes all the way back to Africa. That music was a way of communication. I love my baby, she don't love me. And go on and on and on and on. And Benny was a master of the blues, and I loved to have him tell me stories about Count Basie. I loved Count Basie. He would tell me about the band traveling. He'd tell me about Lionel Hampton. And one thing I can remember, I'll never forget this. We played at a club called the Iridium in New York. I had the quintet. And this was a very special night because Jackie Robinson's wife came. His wife, yeah, Rachel, she came with Luther Henderson. And Lionel Hampton came too. And Lionel was in the wheelchair. And he sat in the front row. And after we got through playing, everybody came off the stage, and Benny was talking to Lionel Hampton. So I said, well, Benny, what did Hamp say? He said, Randy, I was with Lionel Hampton all them years with the big band. All he ever said was Highgates, But at the club, he talked to me and said how much he loved my music. So for me, Benny Powell, he represents the essence of our music. Our music is more than notes and scales. It's more than paper and gigs. It's spirit. And musicians have been given the gift of spirit because the Creator gave us music because we can use music for everything. And that's why the blues are so powerful. You can cry, you can feel happy, you can love, you can do everything with the blues, and that's the foundation of our music. And Benny Powell was just a master. So I could talk forever about Benny. We spend so much time together, we travel together, we talk together. But what I loved about Benny was we were always learning about life, always learning about music. And when we were the traditional people of Morocco, and we traveled up the mountains, one time we had to ride donkeys to get up to the mountain. Billy Hoffer, Al Hayward, Aretha Sante, and Benny Powell. You know, it's on the film. You see us going up the mountains to hear some spiritual music. Because the beauty of Africa is this. There are rhythms and sounds we haven't even heard yet. We haven't even touched the surface of that continent. That continent is rich, 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 rich in music and culture. And these rhythms and sounds and colors have traveled all over the planet. So in one way, a tragedy took place with slavery that took us all to the other planet. But in the other way, it's African civilization in the United States, African civilization in Cuba, African civilization in Venezuela and Brazil, Puerto Rico, because Mother Africa, she gave us a foundation of music, that spiritual foundation, and we are the sons and daughters of those ancient people who created music. In a traditional society, when a musician is going to play a particular instrument, if he has to cut down a tree, he's going to say certain prayers to that tree, because that's Mother Nature. And music is very much the high point of nature. I want to thank Benny's family very much for being so wonderful and so generous and loving. And we love Benny Powell so much. But let the spirit of Benny Powell make us live a better life. Let's have a great appreciation for musicians and music. The traditional people, they said, God has given you a gift. They said, you have a gift of music. You have to decide what you're going to do with that gift. And they also, traditional people, they are storytellers. They keep alive the stories of their societies. I've been to places like Burkina Faso, I've been in Senegal, where musicians can play and give you 700 years of the history of their people. So also Mr. Ellington, Mr. Louis Armstrong, Mr. James Reese Europe, all these giants, they document a history of a people who were brought to this country with absolutely nothing and created this music. I've always wanted to know how that happened. How could that possibly happen? But being in Africa and traveling to traditional people, I found out that we are simply branches and leaves of that particular tree of spirituality. So again, Benny Powell, God bless you. You've moved us. We've laughed. We joked. We've done everything. He's a great, great spiritual human being. Thank you very much.